Some stories don't begin with a heartbeat. They begin with a whisper carried by the wind, the kind that lives somewhere between silence and inspiration. People say science can't explain love, and love can't survive reason. But what if they're wrong? What if the greatest transformation of our time didn't come from a lab, but from a lighthouse? From a scientist who dared to see humanity not as data, but as energy, raw, luminous, alive. They called her foolish for believing in the unseen. Yet every discovery ever made began with hope, with connection, with someone brave enough to listen to what the world couldn't hear. Lena Moore wasn't chasing ghosts. She was chasing meaning. The pulse of life that hides inside every wave, every shadow, every choice to forgive. And when she met him, the man who shouldn't exist, she didn't run from mystery. She ran toward it. Because sometimes love is the real experiment, and the result is everything we thought impossible. In a world obsessed with proof, Lena found something purer. Compassion, empathy, and the light of forgiveness shining through the fog. This isn't a story about death. It's a story about what refuses to die, kindness, memory, and the spark that turns science into soul. The storm wasn't merely weather that night. It was a living thing. It breathed against the cliffs, roared with humanity, and whispered secrets through the cracks of the old lighthouse. Lena Moore stumbled through the darkness, her coat soaked, her heartbeat sinking with the thunder's rhythm. She had sought the coast to study wildlife, but fate had brought her to something wilder, the kind of mystery that doesn't live in textbooks. Inside, the silence wasn't peaceful, it was watchful. The air was dense with salt, memory, and an unspoken love that seemed to linger in every broken tile. It was as if the place itself had been waiting for someone brave enough to listen. Her flashlight caught what her mind refused to believe: footprints, not old ones worn by time, but recent, sharp, deliberate. And then she saw the lantern. It flickered like a heartbeat, each flame trembling with hope and warning. From the shadows stepped Calder, a man who looked like he'd been carved from the sea itself, strong but worn, with eyes that carried the kind of compassion that comes only from great loss. "You shouldn't be here after midnight," he said quietly. His voice wasn't a threat, it was a plea. And though his words were wrapped in caution, they dripped with kindness and forgiveness, like a man who'd been practicing the art of letting go for far too long. Lena wanted to leave. Every rational thought begged her to, but her heart refused. There was something sacred in his stillness, something that called to her empathy. Calder wasn't just a man guarding an abandoned lighthouse. He was guarding his own humanity. The flame of the lantern reflected in his eyes like the remnants of a sign language between souls. Each silence between them was louder than thunder, every glance a connection unspoken. She could feel the pull, not of fear, but of inspiration, the kind that transforms you, even if you don't yet understand how. He told her the lighthouse had been his home, once a beacon for lost ships, now a prison of his own making. His words drifted like ghosts through the damp air. "Light has a funny way of lying," he murmured, almost to himself. And in that confession, Lena sensed his transformation, a man caught between hope and despair, between love and regret. The rain outside grew heavier, yet she felt an odd inclusion, as if she had stepped into a memory not her own. The place wasn't abandoned. It was alive with echoes of forgiveness, with the unending dialogue between the living and the lost. The ocean crashed against the rocks again, and Lena realized she hadn't just entered a lighthouse, she had entered someone's soul. The dawn broke timidly, as if unsure whether it should disturb what the night had left behind. The storm's rage had softened into a mournful silence, a stillness that felt sacred, almost watchful. Lena stepped outside, her breath fogging the cold morning air. The cliffs stretched before her like the edge of the world, scattered with remnants of wreckage, twisted metal, cracked glass, and splintered wood half buried in sand. Each fragment seemed to hum with memory, whispering stories of lives that once trusted the sea. And amid that quiet ruin, she found the journals. Their leather covers worn, the ink faded yet defiant, pulsing with inspiration that refused to die. She knelt in the sand, opening one with trembling hands. The handwriting was meticulous, sharp, filled with equations and sketches of plankton that glowed like stars in the deep. Phrases leapt from the pages: energy of life itself, luminescent fusion, eternal current. Her pulse quickened. Every entry ended with a name: Calder Voss, the same man who had warned her to leave before midnight. But Calder Voss was supposed to be dead, declared lost at sea 20 years ago. The realization struck her like lightning after the storm. The man in the lighthouse was not merely human, or perhaps he was more human than anyone alive. His words, his kindness, his sorrow, all carried the weight of someone who had loved and lost the world. When Lena returned to the lighthouse, the air felt different. The lantern still burned, softer now, its glow pulsing like a heartbeat. Calder was waiting, standing by the broken window, the wind combing through his hair. "You found them," he said, not as a question but a truth long delayed. She nodded, the journals clutched to her chest. "You're Calder Voss," she whispered, half accusation, half wonder. His eyes, oceans of forgiveness and regret, met hers. "I was," he replied, "and maybe I still am. The sea doesn't take everything. Some of us, it keeps." His words hung in the air, a fragile connection between two souls bound by the same current of hope and disbelief. He told her everything, how his research into bioluminescent energy, light drawn from life, was meant to heal the planet, to offer inclusion and renewal where greed had taken too much. But his team betrayed him, stealing his work and sabotaging his final experiment. The explosion should have killed him. Instead, it anchored him here, half spirit, half man, a being of transformation, trapped in the threshold between life and death. "The energy binds to emotion," he said softly. "Love, empathy, even compassion. They keep the light alive. Hatred extinguishes it." His voice trembled. "I've been keeping the light burning, waiting for someone who could understand, someone who could forgive the world for what it did to me." Lena listened, unable to speak. The storm inside her mirrored his confession. Awe, grief, inspiration. She wanted to comfort him, to reach through the invisible barrier between their worlds. Instead, she took a step closer, her voice almost breaking. "Maybe you were never meant to disappear," she said. "Maybe you were meant to be found." The lantern flickered brighter at her words, as though the sea itself had understood their unspoken sign language. And in that trembling light, for the briefest second, she thought she saw him smile, not as a ghost, not as a man, but as something timeless, something achingly alive. The night Lena chose to act was eerily calm, the ocean holding its breath as if it too awaited redemption. The old generator sat beneath layers of dust and memory, its wires coiled like sleeping serpents. Calder watched her from the shadows, his form fainter than before, his voice a soft echo of compassion and doubt. "You don't understand what it will cost," he warned. But Lena only smiled, that quiet, determined smile born from love and inspiration. "I do," she said, "and that's why I have to do it." As she touched the console, the air shimmered with hope, and for the first time, the lighthouse began to hum, alive again with the pulse of humanity. The machinery groaned, ancient gears turning as if awakened from a long silence. Electricity, fused with the luminous energy Calder had discovered, flowed through the walls like veins of light. Outside, the fog parted. A single beam pierced the night, the lighthouse breathing once more, its glow a connection between worlds. Calder stepped toward her, light spilling through him, each flicker revealing the man he once was. "You brought it back," he whispered, his tone full of forgiveness. She wanted to reach for him, to hold on to his warmth, but her fingers met only air and brilliance. "Thank you," he murmured, and as the beacon's radiance filled the sky, Calder dissolved, not into nothingness, but into transformation itself. When the light faded, all that remained on the floor was a small glowing pendant, a drop of eternity condensed into form. Lena picked it up gently, tears tracing her cheeks, understanding that empathy had done what science alone never could. It had bridged life and spirit, reason and heart. Years later, her name would be known around the world, the scientist who turned inspiration into innovation, who carried kindness into the realm of progress. The world called it the Moore-Voss energy principle, but she called it love. And every night as the lighthouse beamed once again across the sea, locals swore they saw a figure in the lantern room, a keeper of light, forever watching where science and spirit, humanity and hope finally found peace in inclusion and endless connection. Some stories don't begin with a heartbeat, they begin with a whisper carried by the wind, the kind that lives somewhere between silence and inspiration. People say science can't explain love, and love can't survive reason. But what if they're wrong? What if the greatest transformation of our time didn't come from a lab, but from a lighthouse? From a scientist who dared to see humanity not as data, but as energy, raw, luminous, alive. They called her foolish for believing in the unseen. Yet every discovery ever made began with hope, with connection, with someone brave enough to listen to what the world couldn't hear. Lena Moore wasn't chasing ghosts. She was chasing meaning, the pulse of life that hides inside every wave, every shadow, every choice to forgive. And when she met him, the man who shouldn't exist, she didn't run from mystery. She ran toward it. Because sometimes love is the real experiment, and the result is everything we thought impossible. In a world obsessed with proof, Lena found something purer, compassion, empathy, and the light of forgiveness shining through the fog. This isn't a story about death. It's a story about what refuses to die, kindness, memory, and the spark that turns science into soul.